So, okay, cool. If you're catching us on this episode, Yani, I'll keep saying, go back and watch from the beginning.
Yeah.
Don't just start with the photography. It's good to understand the history and what led to the photography, and now even how that past affects your decisions in this space that you're at. You get what I mean?
Yeah.
Okay, so Mutua, one of the things that I remember you doing in fact, I don't even think it was you. It was somebody who petitioned us as your followers.
Yeah.
There's a guy who had jacked one of your photos and to report the person on Instagram until their page was brought down.
Yeah.
So, yes, it's all nice and dandy when it's just a normal guy saying it's his photo. But what about when it's corporates? And
when it becomes, when it becomes, because the thing is, there's two kinds of people who steal images and use them. There's the first kind who is annoying but not detrimental. It's like it's like a mosquito biting an elephant. Let's just say it's annoying. It can be annoying.
Yeah.
And that's the ones who jack it for clout. So the ones who want to act like they shot it.
Yeah.
They won't really affect, because no one will go to them saying, I was going to give Mutua that business, but now I'm giving you.
Exactly.
You get, so they won't really affect, but they're really annoying. And so those ones, I don't make a big deal with. I just tell guys, look, because what they want is a shortcut to follows and all this. So we will take the things that they value most, which is the Instagram account, those followers that they've built by line. So we just report that
back to zero. And
most of the time, Instagram listens by the end of the day, you start afresh. So the very thing that you were taking a shortcut to achieve, you end up starting afresh on. Then there's the second kind, which is the ones that do it for the money. So
again,
those
it's a
ones,
shortcut.
Another shortcut. So instead of hiring me or buying the image from me, they take it from the internet and they use it. The advantage of these ones, they're easy to catch, because everything used has evidence. And then when you do, most of the time, most of them, some go to court, but most of them settle out of court. So it's annoying, but it's like I find it's really here. It's become a problem of ignorance. It's not even no longer an expense issue. Because I know companies,
at some level, at a company, you can't
you need
ignorance.
Like people. Yes, you can't use ignorance, but people need to know. But there's also at the same time, there's an arrogance that comes from some organizations, them assuming that it should be my pleasure, or I should be honored.
Like you should be grateful.
I should be grateful that they even chose to steal my picture. They could have stolen from anyone else.
I like that. The word is stolen.
Yeah. I could have been anywhere in the world, but I'm here with you.
It's that.
So these guys are like, we could have stolen from anyone. We chose you. You should be honored. I'm like, it's still theft.
Yeah.
So there are some companies that have been once beaten. I think Safaricom has been beaten before.
Safaricom
maybe
never do that.
But now Safaricom it doesn't matter. They don't care how good your image is.
Yep.
If they don't have the rights to that image, they're not even looking at it. If it's there, they're looking this way.
I mean, Safaricom, even if they hire you to take a photo, and in that photo there's a human being that they have no
consent from release from, they're not using it.
Yeah.
They're either, if it's important to them, they will track that person and get the release from them, or abandon that picture. Like for them, no picture is expensive enough.
Yes.
They'll just be like, forget it. We'd rather redo this shoot.
Yeah.
I don't know whose cost it will be, but they would rather. And you could say that they've made enough money that they can be serious about that. But I think if you steal 20 bob, you're still the same one who will steal 1 million.
Yeah, that's true.
So the size of the company doesn't matter.
I agree.
People never want to even just come and say, let's talk what is there, or lower expectations. I always say, if you're going shopping for your house, you need to buy food, and then you go to the supermarket and you find the money you have is only enough for a 1 kg unga, you're 10 bob short of the 2 kg unga. You don't see anyone going there to be like, first of all, these prices are wrong. If the prices were right, I will be able to afford. They adjust themselves. They just say, okay, for now, sina you 10 bob, I'm going to buy this 1 kg. Then I'll come back in a bit for another 1 kg because I need 2 kgs for the week. They adjust themselves. Somehow, for creativity, they look like that's the place they can't adjust themselves. You adjust yourself. And so I have a big problem with this, not just in the stealing of pictures, because it's cumulatively a culture that chooses to put some things above others. Meaning, a company that's having a party might remember that they need a photographer a day to the party. They will not remember that they need alcohol a day to the party. They will start with the alcohol, they'll start with the location, they'll even change their venue. They'll be like, we need a venue that's maze, that looks good in the pictures. Without even, they will say that. But they've not yet hired the photographer or even thought about him or her. Then a day two, they'll realize, wait, we need a photographer. Hey, you guy, do we even have budget? We have like 50k left. I'm sure we can find someone. The photographer they want says, me, I'm worth 200,000. And be like, what do you mean? Do you know how important it is for us to hire you for cheap? For useless, actually. Do you know how important it is to you that we take advantage of you? And then you're supposed to change your mind because they wasted all that money on other things. So the thing is, it's a culture of what is important. A friend of mine also told me about a wedding where the couple was just like, oh my, we have such a small budget, we're in problems, please help us. Charge lower. And he charged lower. On going to the wedding, he finds the wedding has an open bar. He was so annoyed because, and it's not saying that weddings should not have open bars.
Yeah, no, I get.
But if your priority is to make sure your guests are drunk, and then, but not in your pictures that are yours. The pictures are yours. But you're more worried about the guests who are going home. And by the end of that night, either they'll tapika your expensive alcohol or they will be sober the next day. Like, it doesn't matter how much you make them drink, the next day they are going to be sober. While they are sober again and they've forgotten your alcohol, you're looking at bad pictures. Or you've played someone else for that. So for me, it's always a matter of priority and the lack of importance on some things that are not important, that we think are not important to us. And so that culture is what I have a problem with. And that culture is what I fight against.
But I'll also say, and I play devil's advocate here, if somebody, the problem is also the lack of, or the desperation, I call it two things, desperation for the finances, or also the lack of understanding your worth by the photographers. You know, I keep saying, your kid can either go to, if you go to Hillcrest, you won't start saying, oh, I only have 200 G's and school fees is $1 million a term. You get, Hillcrest will be like, this is how much we charge. Take your kid to somewhere where you can, 200 G's will work. But if you want them here, this is how much.
This is what you need.
And that's the same thing that I think, the same place that I feel creatives, musicians, photographers need to get to. I do understand the desperation and the need for the money, and this is why I'm saying this, because I have known you to use the word no more than any other photographer I know. Till you've actually instilled it in a culture with various photographers.
And we suffer for it because, but I understand, like for me, I truly understand that there will need to be a bit of suffering for that to happen. Like with any meaningful change, before it becomes, there needs to be a period, like there will be a period that is tough. And if you can't go through that tough period, then the good things I don't know. It's hard. But then think about it this way, and that's why I said earlier,
Yeah.
some things are good for now, but not the future. And other things are good for the future, but not now. And so that's the tough thing with, like with that money thing, that's the tough thing. Because at the same time, I can't judge anyone who once in a while does what he needs to do or does what she needs to do to eat now. Because honestly,
Gotta eat.
yes, the future is important, but if you're dead because of hunger, that future is going to be there, the future that you're protecting. So I understand that, and it's a catch-22. But so what we need is to be able to, like the part you need to refuse enough, but at the same time, maybe the trick is to also find a way to find alternative ways to do things as an artist, because I think the world is changing so fast. And even us as photographers, like before, when I started photography, literally the only way you made money as a photographer was that someone hires you to photograph. They give you money, you give them pictures. And now there's so much more that as a photographer you can do, including being on a billboard for being a photographer, and that being the biggest paycheck that I've ever made.
Okay, hold on. Let's talk about that big paycheck. Give me 1 sec.